Amigos, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince. Welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. You guys know what today is? It's Cinco de Mayo. For those who don't know, Mexican Americans often see this day as a source of pride. The date is observed to commemorate the Mexican Army's unlikely victory over French forces at the Battle of Puebla, which was on May 5th, 1862, under the leadership of General Ignacio Zaragoza Seguin. But anyway, as we look back on this event, sometimes we tend to think about the other regions in Latin America besides Mexico. As I said in several of my past blogs, I intend on visiting several countries and continents in my future. And even though I already visited Mexico back in 1996, I believe South America is a really interesting continent. But there don't seem to be too many films I know about that take place in Latin America. I mean, sure, I already blogged Rio 2, and, well, I know there are films like The Emperor's New Groove, but that's for another time. But years ago, way back in the 1940s, Walt Disney gave us a film called Saludos, Amigos. Now, I didn't really watch that film when I was little, but I did manage to rent it from Netflix a couple years ago. And to be honest, I pretty much enjoyed it, although I don't remember too much about it, but I do know why it was made. You see, in early 1941, before the U.S. got into World War II, the United States Department of State commissioned a Disney Goodwill tour of South America, intended to lead to a movie to be shown in the U.S., Central, and South America as part of the Good Neighbor policy. Disney was chosen for this because several Latin American governments had chose ties with Nazi Germany, and the U.S. government wanted to counteract those ties. Mickey Mouse and several Disney characters were popular in Latin America, and Walt Disney acted as ambassador for that. The tour facilitated by Nelson Rockefeller, who had recently been appointed as coordinator of Inter-American Affairs, or CIAA, took Disney and a group of roughly 20 composers and artists, technicians, etc. from his studio to South America, mainly to Brazil and Argentina, but also to Chile and Peru. The film itself was given federal loan guarantees, and because of the Disney studio had overexpanded just before European markets were closed to them by the war, and because Disney was struggling with labor unrest and at the time, including a strike that was underway at the time by Goodwill Journey begun. But anyway, this film included a live-action documentary sequences featuring footage of modern Latin American cities with skyscrapers and fashionably dressed residents. This surprised many contemporary U.S. viewers who associated such images only with U.S. and European cities, and contributed to a changing impression of Latin America. Film historian Alfred Charles Richard Jr. had commented that Saludos Amigos did more to cement a community of interest between peoples of the Americas in a few months than the State Department had in 50 years. The film also inspired Chilean cartoonist René Rios Boteguer to create something called Condorito, one of Latin America's most ubiquitous cartoon characters. Rios perceived that the character Pedro, a small, incapable airplane, was a slight to Chileans, and created a comic that could supposedly rival Disney's comic characters. Now, the reason why I like Saludos Amigos is because it includes a few members of Mickey's gang, like Goofy, Donald Duck, and Jose Carioca, as guest stars. And my rating for that one will be a 90%. The film got so popular that Walt Disney decided to make another film about Latin America, which not only is it the first Disney sequel made by Walt Disney Animation, but it's also what I'll be looking at today. Released in the US on February 3rd, 1945, the movie is The Three Caballeros. So, let's get started with the summary of this film, shall we, amigos? Okay. In this film, it is Donald Duck's birthday, and he receives 3 presents from his friends in Latin America. The first present is a film projector which shows him a documentary on birds, or the aves raras, as the narrator says. During the documentary, he learns about, several Latin American birds, including the Aracuan bird, who appears several times in this film. I also saw him in other stuff like Melody Time, which was made a few years after this film, and also many other Disney media, including Parachute Express's Dr. Looney's Remedy music video in the 90s. Anyway, let's get back to the movie. The next present Donald is given is a book given to him by Jose Carioca himself. The book tells of Bahia, which is one of Brazil's 26 states. Jose shrinks them both down so they can enter the book. Donald and Jose meet up with several of the locals who dance the samba. And Donald ends up pinning for one girl. After the journey, Donald and Jose leave the book. Upon returning, Donald realizes that he's too small to open his third present. Jose shows Donald how to use black magic to return himself to his proper size. After opening the present, they meet Panchito Pistoles, a native of Mexico. The three take the name Three Caballeros and have a short celebration. Panchito then presents Donald's present, which is a piñata. Panchito tells Donald Duck that the tradition behind the piñata, which is used for Las Posadas, or the Mexican Christmas. Jose and Panchito then blindfold Donald and have him attempt to break open the piñata, which eventually reveals many surprises, including going to several Mexican locations. The celebration ends with Donald Duck being fired away by firecrackers in the shape of a bull, which are, lit by Jose's cigar. Now, what are my thoughts? I loved it! I loved it when I was a kid, and I still love it today. Now, I want to talk about a few of the segments in this film. Now, let's start with the Cold-Blooded Penguin short, narrated by Sterling Holloway. Who was in other Disney films like Dumbo, Bambi, Alice in Wonderland, and The Jungle Book, and so on. Now, this short involves a penguin named Pablo reproducing images of a penguin of Punta Tombo in Argentina along the coast of Patagonia. Pablo is so fed up with the freezing conditions of the South Pole that he decides to leave for warmer climates. Now, while I do like this short, there's only one thing in it that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it's the parts when Pablo freezes when he gets far away from his stove. I mean, shouldn't penguins be used to the Antarctic temperature? But anyway, my favorite parts of this short is when a blanket of fog rolls in or a little storm cloud comes up that makes drumming noises and only drops one raindrop. And also the part near the end of the short when Pablo inserts his shower in his bathtub drain when he's sinking. And, the next segment which involves the Amazon jungle where they show different birds, including the Araquan. The things I like in this part is learning about the different kinds of birds here. My favorites being the scissors bird, which I can't really pronounce its name, along with the toucans who bonk their beaks when they're making love, and also the flamingos which I find the funniest parts when they stretch their necks and legs. Next up is the Flying Gauchito short, which tells us the adventures of a young boy from Uruguay and his winged donkey named Burrito. It is believed that the donkey is not modeled after hefty Latin lover Don Juan de Gama. In my opinion, this was a really amusing short. I love the part when Burrito uses his wings at high speed to beat the other gauchos in a race. Next up is the Bahia segment, which involves a pop-up book trip through Bahia, Brazil. Well, as Donald and Jose go on a train that comes across the Araquan, they meet up with some of the locals who dance a lively samba known as O Cinquindiaya with Pedro's Cariocas. And Donald starts pinning for one of the female dancers played by the late singer Aurora Miranda, sister of Carmen Miranda. Bet you didn't know that, did ya? Now, I find this part enjoyable. Like, the song itself is pretty catchy, and the visuals are really neat. I also love the interaction between the live action and the animation. Now, after Panchito gives Donald his piñata, he tells the story of Las Posadas, which takes place on each of the 9 days before Christmas. It's the story about a group of Mexican children who celebrated Christmas by reenacting the journey of Mary and Joseph, searching for a room at the inn. Posada means inn in Spanish, and they are told no posada at each house until they come to one where they are offered shelter in a stable. This leads to festivities, including breaking the piñata, which in turn leads to Donald trying to break his own piñata as well. This I found a very touching story and joyful, and I kind of wish I could witness what this holiday would be like in person. I mean, I know I'm not Mexican, but it would be nice to witness these different kinds of Christmas traditions once in a while, instead of just focusing on the one I'm mostly familiar with. After that, we learn about the history of Mexico City, which is told in the flag of Mexico, or in La Bandera Mexicana. It tells that the god of the Aztecs told them to find an eagle which was destroying a serpent, and when they did, it was out in the middle of the lake. So it's like, can you believe it? The Aztecs built a city on a lake? Next, Panchito gives Donald and Jose a tour of Mexico on a flying serape, kind of similar to the magic carpet from Aladdin. They go to certain side stops like Pascuaro, Veracruz, and Acapulco Beach. Several Mexican dances and songs are learned here, like the Jarabe Pateno, which actually is Panchito's favorite dance. It was written by Jonas Yeverino Calderas in 1900. It is considered one of the most famous compositions from the Mexican state of Coahuila, and then Lelongo, written by Felipe El Caro Gil, and copyrighted in the U.S. in 1946, though it was first recorded in the U.S. in 1938. In the film, Lelongo is performed by Trio Carveras. A key point to what Donald later seems to be known as a wolf in duck's clothing to the ladies again, and hounds down every single one he sees and tries to gain and return affections, but fails. Next, while they're witnessing the life of Mexico City, a song plays out called You Belong to My Heart, which is, well, how do I say it? Like, it's shown like a beautiful skies of Mexico, resulting in Donald falling in love with another singing woman, this one being Dora Lutz. The lyrics in the song itself play parts in the scenarios as to what is happening as well. And after this movie, You Belong to My Heart was featured in a Disney short called Pluto's Blue Note in 1947. It was later recorded by Bing Crosby. And finally, we come to Donald's surreal reverie, which actually happens after a kiss, or several to be exact, leading to Donald going into a phase known as love is a drug. This scene is pretty similar to the pink elephants from Dumbo for being a major drunk scene. Donald consistently envisions sugar rush colors, flowers, and Panchito and Jose popping in at the worst moments. The scene changes after Donald manages to dance with a girl from the state of Oaxaca from the Isthmus of Tehuantepec. Sorry, I can't pronounce certain Spanish words that good. The two dance to a song called La Sandunga. The girl begins by singing the song, with Donald quacking out the rest of the chorus. Then the drunkenness slows down for a moment, but speeds up again when a Mexican girl uses a conductor stick to make the cactus do just about anything while dancing Jesusita e Chihuahua, or something like that. A Mexican Revolution trademark song. This is a notable scene for live action and cartoon animation mixing, and well animation among the cacti. The scene is interrupted with Panchito and Jose spicing things up, and Donald ends up battling a toy bull with wheels on its legs, which explodes with firecrackers. Now that we got the segments out of the way, let's talk about the Caballeros themselves. Now, Donald Duck is voiced by Clarence Ducky Nash, who is also the current Donald Duck voice, Tony Anselmo's coach. According to the cartoon, Donald Gets Drafted from 1942. Donald's full name is Donald Fauntleroy Duck. His middle name appears to be a reference to his sailor hat, which was a common accessory for Little Lord Fauntleroy suits. The Quack Pack episode, All Hands on Duck, and Disney's website also stated his full name as Donald Fauntleroy Duck. Donald's birthday is officially recognized as June 9, 1934, the day his debut film was released, but in this film, his birthday is given as simply Friday the 13th, while in Donald's Happy Birthday, it says his birthday is March 13th. No wonder he dressed up like Jason Voorhees in a recent Halloween cartoon. Minus the machete. Now, in my opinion, while Donald is a classic character, and he is funny when he goes into a temper tantrum, in this, he's mostly cool and joyful, but now, when he's chasing live-action ladies, not so much. I mean, what would Daisy think if she saw him doing this? No. Daisy would kill me. Anyway, let's move on. Next up is Jose Carioca, voiced by Jose Oliveira. That's kind of weird. Jose voicing Jose. Anyway, Jose was created during World War II events via the Good Neighbor policy. to enforce Brazil's cooperation. He represents every aspect of the typical Brazilian. He's smart, friendly, and always in a good mood. His clothes represent the Brazilian malandros, or ladies' men in Portuguese, and his happiness resembles that of Rio de Janeiro. From the end of the Second World War until 1949, American films were not allowed to be exported to occupied Europe, which included Disney cartoons. To find a new market to make up for this, Walt Disney focused on the South American market and used Jose to help promote this. To be honest, Jose is a great character in my opinion. Even though I can't understand his Portuguese language, I find him relatable, and I love it when he uses his umbrella as a guitar or a trombone. And lastly, we come to Panchito Pistoles, voiced by Joaquin Garay. He lives in Mexico and rides on a horse called Señor Martinez. His first appearance in comics was a self-titled 1943 story in which he met and fell for Clara Cluck. Seems like an interesting match, a rooster falling for a chicken. A few months earlier, he appeared in a text story titled La Piñata. Panchito's full name is Panchito Romeo Miguel Junipero Francisco Quintero Gonzalez III. Panchito or Pancho, as well as Paco or Paquito, are nicknames for Francisco, which is also his fifth name. The unusual large name is making fun of the fact that in Spanish-speaking countries, people use two last names, which in some cases are composed of more of two or more words, and commonly has one or even more middle names, and in some cases, Quintero Gonzalez is Panchito's last name. According to Spanish naming, Quintero would be his father's last name, and Gonzalez is his mother's. As there is no reference to his surname, Pistoles, some people are assured that it is another nickname. The word pistolas does not exist in Spanish, although pistolas would mean guns, specifically handguns or pistols. Probably the E in pistoles was the phonetical adaptation to ease the pronunciation for non-Spanish speaking in the U.S. His surname is likely Pistoles because he's seen with two handguns in some scenes. Now, Panchito, in my opinion, is my absolute favorite character in this film. And he's also the reason why I wanted to own my own sombrero when I was little. Now, many decades after this movie, the Caballeros appeared together in other things. For example, in February 2001, Jose and Panchito appeared in the Three Caballeros episode of the House of Mouse series. They were voiced by Carlos Alazraqui and Rob Paulsen. Then, in April 2007, the film became the basis of a ride at the Mexican Pavilion at Walt Disney World Epcot, named the Grand Fiesta Tour starring Three Caballeros. Which, I hope someday the Imagineers can put that ride into Disney California Adventure someday. Please make it happen, Imagineers, please. Then, 2 years later, the Caballeros appeared in the reopening of Disneyland's It's a Small World at the Mexican segment of the ride. Now, while I did explain a lot of the Mexican dances in this film, I'm going to talk about three of my favorite songs in this film. The first one being the title song, The Three Caballeros. It's based its memory off of Ay Jalisco no te rayes, a Mexican song composed by Manuel Esperon, with lyrics by Ernesto Cornazar. It was originally released in a 1941 film of the same name, starring George Negrete. After seeing Manuel Esperanza's success in the Mexican movie industry, Walt Disney called him personally to ask him to participate in the movie. New English lyrics were written to the song by Ray Gilbert. Now, I love this song ever since I've heard it on the Disney Sing-Along VHS. And to me, it does explain what three cartoonish birds playing as caballeros can do. The next song, being Jose's Bahia song, is based its melody off the Brazilian song Na Boca do Sapateiro, which was written by Ari Barroso and first released in 1938. New English lyrics were written by Ray Gilbert. Another Ari Barroso song, Aquarela do Brasil, was featured in Three Caballeros prequel, Saludos, Amigos, with its original Portuguese lyrics. Now, this to me is a very beautiful song. The visuals with a pink sunset sky makes it really gorgeous, even with the part where two doves fly around a Catholic church, even when it shows us an oasis. And next is the Have You Ever Been to Bahia song, was written by Dorival Caymmi and was originally released in 1941. The song was translated into English with no major changes, other than replacing the word nega, a woman of African descent, with Donald, who the song is addressed to in the film. Parts of the song are still sung in the original Portuguese. And another one I still need to mention, even though I already promised 3, but this one has to be mentioned as well, otherwise I'll get a lot of angry fans. The Mexico song was composed by Charles Walcott, with lyrics by Ray Gilbert, and was sung by Carlos Ramirez. It is the only song in the film to be completely original. Now, I love this song too. It describes what a wonderful country Mexico is, while we see a few paintings and while the gang fly around on the Serape. And now, it's time to move on to my final words of this film. Overall, The Three Caballeros is a real Disney classic, but I wouldn't consider it as a film, to be exact. I like to think of this more as a documentary, in my opinion. The animation is terrific, the history of Latin America and Mexico are interesting, and the songs or dances are really beautiful and quite catchy to dance to. The more I watch it, the more it gives me the goal to go explore Latin America myself someday. Even if you enjoy classic Disney films, then I recommend you check this movie out, even if you want to learn more about Latin America. I give this Disney treasure a 99% out of 100. Well, that's it for today, amigos. Be sure to tune in next time. Mustang power, and happy Cinco de Mayo, amigos. Now, wonder what I should do next. Anti-Josh? You again?
Hello, Mustang. It's been a while.
Actually, it's been a few weeks since I got released from house arrest.
Oh.
Anyway, what are you up to this time?
Well, I was wondering what you're planning for Mother's Day. You know that's coming up pretty quick.
Gee. you're right. Well, last year's Mother's Day episode was Pixar's Brave, so I'm still having a difficult time to figure it out.
Well, luckily I have something in mind for you. Now, have you blogged anything from the Light Image Movers digital studio lately?
Well, I did talk about two of them, Polar Express and A Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey on my top 25 holiday films, but wait, are you saying you want me to blog?
Exactly. Here you go.
Huh?
Enjoy it while you can.
What have I gotten myself into?